The first question is from @FayNeve. Very poignant and topical question. Were you ever offered performance-enhancing drugs?
No, I wouldn't know where, how. I've down where I train in Birchfield, which is in Birmingham. Never been offered it. I've never seen anybody offer it to anybody else. Never heard of anything like that. I think it's something that you probably would have to go specifically to somebody you know, like a pharmacist or a doctor, sports doctor, or actually go down the gym, a hardcore gym where they might have drugs like testosterone or THG or HGH, not THG. So, but if you really want to find it, or just get it off the internet, that Panorama program proved how easy it is to get. But no, never. And I think if I had, people would have seen me throw the javelin a little bit further. So I would have thrown 50 metres, not 30. So I'm a dead giveaway. But no, never. And I'm glad I hadn't. And I know what the choice would have been. It would have been no.
Okay, next question from @Rickstar_94. What do you predict in the heptathlon in Beijing?
Wow. This all depends on whether Katarina Johnson-Thompson is fit and healthy, and Jess makes inroads into a performance from Gotsits. I do predict a Canadian win. I think Brianna Tyson-Eaton will win. She performed brilliantly and still can get more from her performances. I predict 2 medals for Britain if both of them are there, but I predict a Canadian win. So maybe 1 for Canada, 2 and 3 for Britain.
Okay.
And I predict potentially Jess to beat Kat.
Wow.
Because she is a feisty, gutsy performer.
Okay.
I'm probably totally wrong.
No, it's now recorded, unfortunately for you. Okay, the next question is from @Malma4. Is there enough mental health support currently for athletes?
I think, no, I don't. I think when an athlete, especially they get injured, and then their performance level drops and they can't get back in the team, then they lose their lottery funding. There's no support, you're just left. Bye, thank you for what you've done for our sport. You're left to your own devices, get on with it. Yes, you have psychologists in our sport, but they're few and far between. But I don't think they're ready to cope with the issues that sport can put an athlete in, and that's not just athletics, it's any sport. And if we've seen in recent years, cricket has obviously been a big mental health issue, where how things can get on top of an athlete and it can ruin people's performance, even if they're truly world class. Jonathan Trott is one of them, obviously recently, and it's really sad to see it because you know they have the talent. For instance, I was injured really severely in 2010, 2 prolapse discs in my back. I was told I was never going to run again. I did, and then at the final hurdle in 2012, qualifying for the heptathlon, my discs then basically blew and I was injured, and that's my career gone. And I wasn't once offered any support from my national governing body about how I should cope with this. I was made to cope by myself. And it does plunge you down deep depths. And people say, yeah, but it's only a hobby and you do it for fun. But it was my livelihood, it was my job. And it was something I was passionate about and done all my life. And then you're told you can never do it again. And I don't think sport as a whole actually deals with it properly. I think there should be a lot more done about how people, even if they've had a successful career and then they retire and then they're out in the normal world, they don't know how to deal with the normal world. It's seen quite a lot in football, obviously. But if you've had a mega career and then you're left, unless you're David Beckham, which is only one of David Beckham, you're not going to have that same career. It's like it ends, the money ends, the limelight ends, the public profile generally ends, unless you're a pundit on that Match of the Day or whatever, but that can go, and it can, whether you're injured or you've retired from a successful career, you're not really given that opportunity to talk about it, or, you know, or even get offered advice of what you should do. Now, English Institute of Sport offer performance lifestyle, you know, where can your career go? But it's not about your career, it's about how you know, your feelings inside, and maybe the sport as a whole should look at that more thoroughly and help sports people actually overcome the end of a career, because you're not just going to retire to garden, you have to then find another life. And that is particularly hard, and it doesn't matter how you retire, it's injury or success. I think you can still feel and drop down to the lowest.
I think that the issues around how people perceive mental health, not just in sport but in general society, I think are improving.
Yeah.
But it is often misunderstood, and I think one of the misconceptions or misunderstandings, particularly with sport and particularly probably with an athlete who physically is supremely fit, so visually looks supremely fit, to then be told that they're not very well mentally. I think if people don't understand mental health, that's a very difficult concept for them to understand.
Perfect example was Mo withdrawing, and I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter who actually is supposed to be kind of a sports science S&C guy for Wolves Football Club, and he actually said, well, you just get up and run, you're a professional sports person. I said, but that's not the case. It's when other factors in your life affect your performance, you can't just step on the track and run. It's not that easy. Actually, sports people, athletes aren't robots, and so they suffer just as much as anybody else. Yes, they might be able to deal with it in a better way, but however, they still feel the effects of the press or the media, or something's happened in their personal life. You know, when your coach has been accused of had allegations of drugs, you know, is that not going to affect somebody like Mo? Of course it is. He's not going to be able to perform. His mind is going to be somewhere else, not on the job. But it is perceived that you're in a pressure situation, sports people, whatever sport, you're in a pressure situation 100% of the time. You can't shut off. So it's really, really hard. So that is really hard to deal with in itself. But then when you've got added outside pressures as well, it can kind of get you down. And as you know, being a sportsman yourself, it's tough to I can't say the word. Differentiate, that's the one. Differentiate, between real world and not real world. It's such a big subject. I just wish other people took it more seriously. But like you say, it is gaining a bit more respect. But a bit more respect isn't enough. It needs to have total respect.
Very good. Okay, well, I think we've got time for one more question. So we're going to David Bumble Lloyd in the world of cricket.
Hello, Bumble.
Sent in a question. Drug cheats, what do they do and how? Let's deal with that part of the question first, and then we'll go on to the next bit. So drug cheats, what do they do and how?
Well, first of all, what do they do and how? If I knew what they did and how, and then it'd probably make me a drug cheat. I think you have to have the financial means, firstly. If you really want to take drug taking seriously and do it properly, not saying I know this, you need the financial means. So it's only really going to happen to the better athletes, because you need the pharmacist, you need the doctor, you need to have a lab. And that's just based on what I hear and find out, not that what I know, by the way. And what's the second part of that?
The second part of the question is, should athletes not say, I'm not competing against him or her? You know, I think basically put up an objection. You know, Justin Gatlin's a good example now. Should you know, what would happen if Usain Bolt turned around and said, I'm not competing against Justin Gatlin?
I wish all athletes weren't afraid of voicing their opinion on drug cheats, because most of them are. They won't have an opinion that they can put out on social media. They'll have a personal opinion that they will keep to themselves and their close network, but they're afraid to voice it. I don't know why. These people are properly cheated. So why not? And maybe that's a stance that sports people should take. And if more and more do that, and actually this athlete activism, get athletes talking about it, and actually the current crop of athletes talk about it, and actually be active about, I'm not competing against them, and if you're competing, I'm not doing it. So Usain Bolt, Diamond League in whatever country, so I'm not. If you've got Gay, Powell, or Gatlin, I'm not running. What's your choice? You either get rid of them or I run, because I don't want to run. You know, you need the power player people to say that. But unfortunately, I don't think they will. Though it's like people are afraid to, because the repercussions of financial, or they might lose a contract, or people might just see them moany. Yeah, I mean, I was very vocal about drug cheats when I was a career, and I've lost a medal or two from them. Potentially could be upgraded soon, so hopefully. But yeah, you should voice it. Don't be afraid. But yeah, Bumble, I don't know where you take drugs, how you take them, what they do. I'm sure there's a few people that could answer that question for you, but I'm not one of them. But I'm glad I don't truly know.